Greetings, fans and friends and fellow cooks. You have seen videos that are similar to this, but you have not seen this one. Basically, what I wanted to do was to remind you that this is one of the fastest meals that you can make, especially when you have something else on the stove that's going to take some time. I do. On a back burner, I have something that's going to take 2-3 hours to cook. So I decided that I wanted to make a fritter. Basically, a fritter is something that you make with an egg, something to season, and in my case I'm using leftover chicken, but you could use anything really. The fritter, the egg is the most important ingredient because that's what is going to keep everything together. A little bit of flour, not much, some baking powder, and I mean a tiny amount of baking powder. So, an egg, some flour, baking powder. Now, it just so happens that I have an overripe tomato which I'll use in my fritter. Why not? You can use anything that's already cooked, anything that's savory, really, that's already cooked. So, the tomatoes will get chopped up and it'll be in the fritter. I'm also using scallion, which I happen to like. That too will be chopped up and that too will be in the fritter. Now, here's a good place to put whatever you like, really, so long as it's already cooked, so you don't have to cook it any further. Anything that you can eat raw, including an egg. You can eat an egg raw. I don't want to, but you could. Now, the egg is that item that buys. Keep in mind, as I said, you can use anything, including sardines if you want to, but it just so happened I'm using leftover chickens today. In it goes, chopped up fine, along with the tomato and the scallion. It's in there, it's all in there, and you can add whatever else you want, really. The flour, about 1/8 of a cup, maybe, and of course, some baking powder, a tiny bit of baking powder. In it goes, and we stir it around really well. The idea is to coat the items with the flour. And I did that, as you can see. In the meantime, your coconut oil is getting good and hot in preparation for the fritters, of course. And once it's nice and hot, you're ready to do your cooking. But before you do, add some water. This is way too much water, by the way. You add water in little tiny increments. Okay, because I added too much water, I had to add more flour, which I didn't really want to do. By the way, if you're a vegetarian, leave all the meat stuff out of there and just put products that are compatible to you being a vegetarian. That's okay. The fritters go into the hot oil and it'll start cooking. Again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, fritter is really the easiest, one of the easiest meals to make. You're going to mix your ingredients together, as I said before, usually ingredients that you can eat raw or ingredients that are already cooked. And then you add the egg to keep it all together, a little bit of flour, not much, and don't make the error that I did. Don't add a lot of water. Add a little bit of water incrementally and keep mixing it until it reaches the consistency of a batter. You can add a little bit more flour if needed, of course. Once it's cooked on one side, you will want to flip it over, cook it on the other side. Now, how do you know when it's cooked? It's just a matter of experience. It just so happened that I keep watching it until it is brown on both sides. I like mine crispy. Of course, with the tomato in the fritter, it is not going to be crispy. I know that. So you keep flipping it over, You keep flipping it over until it looks nice and brown on both sides. That's my advice. Of course, experience will teach you differently. And in my case, I added some hot sauce and some salt because that's those two right there. Those are going to be mine. The rest I'll share with guests and they can add whatever they want, of course, but not mine. In the meantime, on the back burner, this is what I was cooking. Some ham hocks and beans with some dumplings. But you know that's going to take 2.5, perhaps 3 hours to cook. was hungry. I didn't have the time. So I cooked these fritters instead, and as you can see, voila, nice and brown. They look delicious, and I can tell you, they are delicious. Bon appetit. Of course, keep sending and sharing your comments and your suggestions.